168. You might be thinking what that number means. That's how many hours there are in 1 week. As a student, this might not feel enough as you've got lots of assignments, project works and exams to do. And on top of that, you've got other activities and commitments plus your social life too. So wouldn't it be nice to learn a way where you could study smart as compared to hard and lead a balanced life? So I've come up with this top 5 scientific ways in order to learn faster. On the left hand side of the screen, you can see all of the studies which I'll be using in order to back up my any conclusion I made throughout this video. I'll make sure to make this video as much interesting as possible as I don't want to bore you with figures and the data alone. So with this, let's straight away get started. The very first scientific technique is to learn the same information in a variety of ways. So now this was a study conducted by Willis J in 2008 which showed that different media stimulate different parts of the brain. To explain this, I want to give my own personal example here. So back in my university, I was learning about competitive inhibition in catalysis. So I went to my lecture notes of the university and tried spending about 2 hours on that, and I was only able to grasp 10% of the concept. So after that, I went to YouTube, I searched for competitive inhibition there. When I saw the visuals, 80% of my concept was cleared. Now still there was 20% of concept which wasn't clear at this point. So I went to Google search, I write competitive inhibition, where I find out some of the real-time examples and some of the practice questions to do. I did that, and at the end my 100% of the concept was grasped and I got the hold of that full concept. So the key point to take out is that review the same information by using different kind of resources. For example, if you've got a topic to study on, don't just get limited to one resource. Try to explore more resources which are available. For example, if you're a STEM student, there is Khan Academy which is available. There are all different kind of sources which are available online, and it's really important to utilize all of these resources and then review the full information to grasp 100% of that concept. Now number second scientific technique is to study in front of the class. Now I'm not sure that how many of you will be agreeing to it, but I've got some solid data to share with you guys and back this conclusion. So this was a study conducted by Gillies in 1982 which showed that the average marks of the front row student was 80%, the middle row student was 71.6%, and the back row student was 68.1%. And these findings were obtained under conditions where the seating positions were teacher assigned. So this wasn't the case where more motivated student used to sit in the front of the rows in the lecture theater and the less motivated used to sit in the back of the class. So this wasn't the case here. So it was teacher assigned, all the students were teacher assigned and the positions were given accordingly. The main reason behind seeing such interesting figures was that when you sit in front of the class, the students were able to concentrate more due to the fact that they could hear the lecturer, the teacher more clearly, and second, the presentation slides or the boards could be more clearly visible. So this was all case of the high concentration power which you get when you sit in the front row of the lecture theater. But to be honest, in my own life, I've been a backbencher for most of the time and I've been scoring good marks on my way. So I've also scored like 100% in some of my subjects. So, but however, this is some of the scientific conclusion that the front row kids have got higher marks on average. Make sure to comment down below if you're a backbencher or a front seater. So now number third scientific technique is to test yourself. In order to put out in a scientific perspective, this was a study conducted by University of Louisville professor Keith Liley. So she wasn't a professor, she was a psychologist. So she had two different groups of students, student group A and student group B, and she used to teach both of the student groups exactly the same content of the particular subject which she used to taught them. The only difference being that in terms of group A students, she used to give them 4 to 6 quiz questions at the end of every lecture, whereas in group B she didn't used to do that. As a result, it was found out that group A students outperformed group B students, and the reason behind that being that they were testing themselves after completion of every lecture module by the fact that the Keith Liley, the psychologist, used to give them the quiz questions. So this is really important for all of us to test ourselves when we have finished our studies. So here I was also reading about another scientific technique which is known as active recall, which is quite interesting as well. Now let's say once I am on the internet, I'm looking for George Washington as an example. So I'll be going to Wikipedia, I'll be reading all throughout and I'll just leave it. So that means you're studying it passively. On the other hand, let's say if I study about the George Washington on the Wikipedia, and after that if I put some questions for myself, for example, when was George Washington born, what was his early life, what was his military career, how did he become the president, how was the slavery in his kingdom. So once I start putting myself questions and when I start start answering them, and that is a time when you will be actively recalling all of the things which you studied. So this is a really good technique to implement whilst you are studying. The fourth technique is to stop multitasking. Now this was a study conducted by Stanford and Related, which concluded that multitasking makes you less productive, more distracted and number. So this isn't a good idea that when you're studying on the same time you're replying to a text message or watching television or checking out your Twitter feed. So in order to improve your concentration, I've got few of the suggestions for everyone who is watching this. Number first being turn off notifications on your phone. Put your phone away or turn it to airplane mode. Log out of all instant messaging programs. Close all of your internet browser windows that aren't related to the assignment you're working on. And last one being clear the clutter from your study area. Here, I really hope that you're enjoying this video. Now moving on to the fifth and last scientific tip of this video is that write down your worries. So before exams you might be having this question in your brain that what if this time the exam is harder than the last time, or will you be doing good in this exam? Number third being that what if you forget some of the key equations. So these are kind of the questions which kind of create an anxiousness in your brain and which can really affect your grades. Now here there was a study conducted by Chicago which discovered that students who wrote about their feelings about an upcoming exam for 10 minutes performed better than students who didn't. The researchers say that this technique is especially effective for habitual worriers. So in order to be less anxious or worried about an examination, all you have to do is just take 10 minutes, write down all of the worries which you have got related to that particular exam, which is upcoming exam which you are going to do, and after that as a result you will be getting higher grades, and this is what is proven by this scientific study. So my bonus tip for this video is that start using mnemonic devices such as acronyms in order to simplify, summarize and compress your information. For example, when I start thinking about what should be the order of a rainbow as an example, very simple example, and back in the early classes I knew about this kind of acronym known as VIBGYOR, and once you try to kind of expand it, where V means violet, I means indigo, B means blue, G means green, Y means yellow, O means orange and R means red, and once you kind of reverse this order, that brings you to the color of the rainbow itself. So try to use such kind of acronyms for Ohm's law in physics as an example. So even for the periodic table as well, I remember like the first 20 elements we used to learn with some kind of a slangs or the acronyms which we used to use. So try to use them in your university or college life as well, because this will help you in order to simplify, summarize and compress your information. As we approach towards the end of the video, I really hope that you enjoyed all of the scientific techniques which I tried to explain. If you did, please make sure to like this video, as this always motivates me quite a lot. Make sure to comment down your feedback and some of the questions which I asked throughout the video, some of the scientific techniques you agree to, and some of them if you don't agree to, please make sure to comment them down below. And also make sure to subscribe the channel for regular updates as I make all this content related to student life, making it more productive and easier. With this, thanks for watching. Have a nice day.